All right, hello folks, and welcome to another pairing stream with Mike Rizzi. Hey Mike, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So I found out that we were, or at least I was, because I was the one pronouncing it. The name of the tool we were using for authentication. It's not Kinda or Kindi or anything. It's as if you pronounce it without the e. It's kind. And I only found that out because I was like, how do you pronounce it? They must have something on their site that says how to pronounce it, and it's somewhere in their about box. And it says it's pronounced like the word kind. I'm like, oh, okay. Why don't you make that more obvious? Because that is not an obvious pronunciation based on how it's spelled.
I wonder if is it a US company? Maybe
No,
it's
they're Australian. But even
ah,
so,
yeah. Because I was wondering if there was like a Scandinavian word that's kind of like that that's pronounced kind.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah. No. Okay.
nope, nope, nope. And they said they're not planning on changing their name, so it's like, okay, whatever.
Were people complaining? Is that why they were?
I'm assuming they got some people reacting otherwise. Why would you say that? And I had posted a comment on Mastodon about that, and somebody said, what? Because they thought I was talking about Kindle.
Oh.
And I was like, no, nothing to do with Kindle. It's kind. And I was saying, like, look, if your name is going to be a non-obvious pronunciation, you kind of want to make that clear. Like, that is your company product name, so you should probably make that clear. And I think that's true for people as well. Like, it took me a long time to figure out how Emily Bates pronounces her last name. It wasn't until like I was like, how does she pronounce her name? How does she pronounce her name? Because it wasn't anywhere like obvious until like I saw a talk and she introduced herself, and that's like, oh, okay, now I know how to pronounce it. Like my name, there's not really many ways you could pronounce Ted Young, so I don't have to do that. But for anyone where it's like a not obvious name, like why not have a little video saying, hi, this is how you pronounce my name.
I was just thinking about the name kind, and we were talking about Kindle. So get the L out of Kindle.
Right.
Well, I guess it's the LE though. It doesn't really work. The joke doesn't
Well,
work. Yeah. Get the LE out of Kindle. Kind.
hey there, Jonas. Welcome. All right. So last time we ended on a high note with actually getting the authentication working.
Yeah.
So that was good. So let's pick it up from there. Let's figure out. Let's check Jira and see where we are. I think I know what we have to do next, but we can check that.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't looked since we were last on together. Wow, did I actually close Jira? Wow. Must have, because it's moving to the wrong window. Come on, Jira, upper left. Party. That's just like note stuff.
Yeah, that's just note stuff.
I don't think we really need that. I can move it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, we haven't written much in Jira on this regard.
Well, I think it's right there. The next one, which is UI for bulk import. So I think we can check off authentication authorization, or at least the hard part. We'll probably still have some configuration to do. So maybe we want to add in explicitly protect the admin endpoints. Hey Astrid, good evening to you.
And we'll just how would we describe what we got done?
OAuth configuration, basically.
Sweet.
Yeah, and what we can do is once we protect the right endpoint, then we can deploy it to production So maybe add on to after 56, deploy to production and update the kind configurations so that the URL callback is all set up. The redirect callback or whatever they call it is set up.
If they can find kind configurations for redirect.
Yeah, whatever the
Okay.
URLs are that we had to specify. Yeah. All right.
I do like to accidentally press that caps lock key.
Can you? I mean, do you have a tool to reprogram that key? Like, I know like, you can do that on the Mac with
Oh,
certain tools.
probably can. I haven't actually thought of that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
only lately. I think it's because I've got it oriented at this slight angle because of
Mm.
the dual monitors. But,
What I like about it is I don't. I
oh, you
like
can actually use it for
I
something.
can actually use it for something. Exactly. It's like who the
That's
heck who like unless you happen to be doing a lot of caps lock stuff, it's really not you know not
yeah,
much
good
of
point.
a use. Whereas caps lock basically emulating all four meta keys pressed down at the same time is great for global hotkeys.
Okay.
All right.
Rock and
So
roll.
let's work on let's work on Jira 56. Let's get our security config set up properly or set up appropriately, not properly. It's not like it's improperly set up.
Cool.
So let's go to the security config file.
This one?
Yes. What zoom level are you at? 'Cause it feels like it's a bit small to me.
Control Shift A, zoom 110.
Can we try 125?
Yeah, I could have sworn we were running higher.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
All right. So what we want is instead of authorize any request where on line 16 there, what we want to do is we want to authorize only for so what we'd like is so authorize HTTP requests. So let's say instead of actually combine 15 and 16 because we're going to do a little bit of different formatting. Probably want the Control Shift J.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. No, the other one.
No, too late.
Nope.
You got to do it again. You got to undo first and then do it.
Yeah,
There you go.
there you go.
So put the dot before the any request. Let's put that on a new line. And instead of any request, what we're going to do is replace and basically put the closing paren on the one all the way at the end. Put that on a new line as well,
Good
because
point.
we're going to replace the entire line 16 now.
Okay.
So we're going to replace that whole line with dot request matchers.
All right.
No, too much.
Yeah, I know. It jumped more than I wanted to.
Oh yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so we want dot request matchers. Yep. And what that takes is basically a variable list of arguments. Pretty much strings is what we use. So we're going to say string with slash in it.
Oh, say the word string with slash in it.
No,
Oh, sorry.
double quote slash double quote, not backslash. That one, yes.
Got it.
So basically that's the root for now. That's the one that just says like coming soon. So that one will permit all. So say
Okay.
dot permit all. Yep. And then on a new line, we'll do request matchers again. And here we'll put um, actually, do you want theme search open to anyone? I guess so. So that one
At
should
this
probably,
point,
I mean, that's just the
um,
search, the GET request.
right. It kind of looks, does it? I actually have to see what it looks like. Like how clunky is it? Like, is it? So we could temporarily do it, and then if I don't like the way it looks, we can keep it hidden until we build that UI a little bit, looking a little bit better.
Um, so then let's put that on the one before it. So let's erase what you got there. Or actually, it doesn't matter. Just hop up a line, put a comma, and then do slash, and then just hit that for autocomplete. Yep.
Okay.
Nice that IntelliJ detects your get mappings,
Right.
and this
That
is
was
something
pretty
that
cool.
is part of this their Spring Framework support. Um, so now, did we actually define an endpoint
I don't
yet?
think we
I
did.
don't think we did. So, because I think we just had the sort of the homepage controller, which is just the slash, and then I had the songs theme searcher. I think just had um, uh, the controller just the song theme controller just had the theme search.
Where's song theme controller?
It's the searcher actually up in the adapter in web.
Ah, this one. That
Yeah,
used to be called. Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, so that just has the get mapping for that. I don't think there's anything else in there. In fact,
No.
otherwise IntelliJ probably would have suggested it. Okay, so then what uh, what endpoint do we want that to be?
And this is for the bulk entry.
Right, right.
Um, I was just thinking slash bulk, but we could do bulk hyphen entry. I'm trying to think future, right now we're just gonna do a simple one, which is just
Right.
an edit box you can dump in. If we had future ones that are like, file picker, would we want a different endpoint for each of those or just one and then just the implementation from the UI?
I think you just want one.
Yeah. So in that case,
Um,
just I do either bulk or bulk entry. What other terminologies are we
could just say
using?
uh, song entry or import.
Oh, import. That's better. How about um, song import?
Okay. So let's punch that up there on line 17. And one thing we haven't set up is sort of a translation of authentication to roles. Um, I'm not quite sure how kind configuration works in that regard. Um,
Hmm.
so I think we actually don't care, right? Because we're not differentiating between different
Right. Not yet.
authentication roles. Yeah.
Right.
So we can just say then after that, just say dot authenticated. Yeah. Um, that should be it. Yeah, that should be
Where's
it.
this here?
So that's an IntelliJ thing to basically it'll jump you to
Ah,
where that's implemented if it was,
right.
which this one's not.
Cool. So I guess we
So what
should have
this will
considered
say
that.
is, yeah, so what this will do is for slash and for slash theme search, you don't have to be authenticated. Um, the other thing we probably want to do is we've got some static files that we don't want, or maybe we don't yet. I don't think we actually have any static files yet. But we'll probably want, well, when we get to those, we'll set those up because we'll want those to be permit all
Right.
uh, for things like graphics and
So forth.
SVGs and
Yeah.
icons and stuff like that. So, all right, um, that's it. Actually, that's all we need.
Cool. do we want to create the endpoint next, or what's?
Yeah, so I think now now we start outside in, create our test for an endpoint, figure out what that endpoint is. So it'll be very much like the MVC test you've got for song themes.
Oh, actually,
You might just want to
maybe we
copy
should
that
name
test.
it. Sorry.
You might just want to copy that test.
Oh, okay. And what do we want
Astrid,
to?
you're not using IntelliJ? Astrid? What? How could you not be using IntelliJ? I'm disappointed, Astrid. Hey Jonas. We're gonna go for at least a couple of hours.
Yeah,
So
maybe 2.5,
yeah,
3,
something like
depending
that.
on our mood
Yeah.
and our energy.
Oh,
Hey,
hey
Suiji.
Suichi. Welcome. All right. You were saying something about renaming something?
Oh no, I was going to say let's create the production class first, because then the automated class thing will be better. But since we're just going to copy this test class,
Yeah.
my original thought doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah. You can also go the other way. You can create the test class and say jump to the implementation. Although I don't know if it'll
But it won't
instantiate.
create it.
Yeah, it won't
That's,
create it. Right. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
that's why I was going to go that route.
Right. All right. So let's
I don't know. What do you think? Some things import. I want to make it exactly like the endpoint name, which is song import, which
yeah.
feels better.
I tend to like shorter as
Yeah,
much as possible.
I'm with you on that one. Okay,
All right.
done. Get this down here. Let me close one of these windows. Okay.
So so let's just rename the method. We'll just change that it's the song import endpoint. Well, we won't need any of the query parameters because this is not a
Yeah.
search, so we don't need that.
Right.
And you want the name to match song import.
Song.
Not song dash theme, but song dash import.
Oh. I would love to say I didn't have coffee, but I did. It was 6 hours ago, though, or longer.
That was an early coffee.
Yeah, 7 a.m.
All right, so let's run this test just on its own.
Do we want the get to song import? I guess
I
it's
always
okay.
I always struggle with this particular name. Is it a get request to this? Is it a get request from this? Or is it just a get against, like the
What
what's the
about
word? Well, it's specifically performing a get. So the get is important.
if you do this, it
Yeah,
gets rid of the
is it
to.
is it to or of or this or against? So that's why we had get to. Let's not bike shed this. Let's just leave it.
Keeping it consistent.
Unless you have
Okay.
unless somebody has a much better name that's
Yeah.
compelling, we'll just leave it. So let's run. So generally, what I like to do is for these kinds of tests is run this test class on its own.
Okay.
Yeah, Control Shift F10 is your friend there.
Yeah.
And we expect this to be a 404 because there is none. Although we might get a problem before that with a security issue. Ignore that. Keep going. Yeah, so we've gotten a 302 because security is on, and that page explicitly is protected against authentication. And so this is a case where this stuff starts to get a little bit more complicated, which we have a couple of choices of what we can do here. One is we can use what's called a mock user, where
So the problem is we've got
yeah.
in the map. I just want to make sure I understand the issue. So here we're saying, hey, song import endpoint must be authenticated,
Mhm.
but we haven't got a system yet for authenticating. So
Oh, we
here we're
do. Oh, we have a
we
system for
do,
authenticating,
but I mean,
and that's why we see the redirected URL as being a redirect
to
about kind.
kind. So then what's the failure?
So we're getting a 302 redirection instead of either a 200, or what we'd like to see first is a 404.
Right.
Right, so we'd like to see a 404 because we don't have a controller with a get mapping for that endpoint.
Right.
But even before,
It
it's
even
kind of
gets to that.
interesting. Yeah, it's even before Spring tries to see if there's a get mapping for it, uh, because if it revealed a 404 for what should have been a secure endpoint, that would be leaking information. So it basically says security takes priority. You can't hit this endpoint because we've defined it as being authenticated.
Authenticated.
So,
Right.
so we're going to take you through the authentication process, except the test doesn't like that.
So how would we have the test? This is the mock user you're talking about.
Yes.
Got
So
it.
what we want
Okay.
to do is we want to tell the test runner, hey, pretend we're authenticated as this user.
Got it.
So what we want to do is go to the top of the class and put an annotation before the class name, and say @with mock user.
Oh,
We could probably do anonymous user, because I think anonymous users are weird. Anonymous users are authenticated, but they actually don't have any authorities. Let's first try the anonymous user, see what happens. So
is it
instead of with
a,
mock user, just say with anonymous user.
oh, no params?
Yeah, it doesn't need any params. I don't think it does. I haven't used it before. Let's see. Anonymous. This annotation is added to a test to emulate running with an anonymous user. Security context will contain an anonymous authentication token. Um,
Are you reading this?
I'm just reading the docs. Yeah. It's just so weird. Um, this idea of being authenticated as anonymous. It, to me,
Freaky.
it's just wrong. But I understand why it might have been done. But yeah.
Well, it failed. Oh,
Did it fail the right way? No, it still
right.
has
Yeah.
it still has a 302. So anonymous was not good enough. So let's I would have thought so it could be that that's not sufficient. So all right, no worries.
Does with the anonymous user have,
So let's just do with mock user.
okay.
And in there, the string sort of doesn't matter. That will just become the username. So you can just type username. Yeah.
Looks like it made it farther. Let's see.
Yes, 404.
Yeah,
That's what we
now we got
want.
the 404.
Yes. All right, great. So now we can make the test pass. So now that the test fails the way we wanted it to, we can go ahead and create the controller for that.
Is it worth
No,
stealing?
just create a new class.
Yeah. We're still gonna keep working on not using the word controller.
If we can.
Importer, song importer.
Sure, that's awesome. What an awesome
Okay.
name.
Cool.
So let's annotate it with an @ controller at the top, and then we can put an @ get mapping for the method. Now the get mapping goes on the method.
Oh,
that we have to write.
right.
So some people like redirect and view. We're just going to return a string. I like string.
What will we call this one? Just
Song import. Well, song import was sort of the name that of the endpoint, so I tend to have them closely aligned.
yeah, that makes sense. What is going on with my fingers?
I don't know. So Kusgun asks, can you explain the difference controller and REST controller? Yes. So this is something that I remember was very confusing to me in the early days of learning Spring. Controller is a web controller. So what happens with the @controller is that it means that the return value from a method, so like this get mapped method, is not going to be data that's going to be sent to the caller. It's going to be the name of what's called a view. And if you're using something like timeleaf, which is likely if you're using @controller, you're probably going to be using timeleaf. It returns the name of a timeleaf template, which is typically whatever name you give it plus .html in the appropriate directory. So, so the return value of a method, whether it's a get mapped method or a post method with @controller, is intended for using with regular web apps, not not any kind of API, just where the server is generating the UI. @REST controller, what it does is it says, oh, whatever value you're returning from these methods, I am going to return to the caller, possibly, in fact, by default, converting it to JSON. So if you're writing APIs for your likely overly complex front ends, but I have no opinion on that, then you're probably going to want @REST controller. And so that means the return values from any of your methods are going to be converted to JSON by default and then just returned. So if you're writing RESTful, quote, RESTful APIs, you're going to use REST controller. If you're writing web UIs using some kind of view template technology like timeleaf, then you're going to want to use just @controller.
Timeleaf and HTMX as well, I presume.
Well, timeleaf is the server-side generated stuff. HTMX is
Ah,
to make the interactivity on the front end
got it.
a bit nicer. I don't think we are going to use HTMX anytime soon. More likely on the view search side than the entry side. Yes, so since this is a web app, we're going to have a get that's going to return the page that says, here, please type your stuff in, or copy and paste or whatever. And then one of those buttons will initiate a post request, which will then submit the data, and then we'll parse it. All right. So since this method says it's going to return a string, we've got to return something. So we can just return an empty string.
How much was
You
something?
could return something that would be a more interesting error. Um, that's totally fine. Uh, Either way, TimeLeaf is going to complain, I can't find a template with this name.
Right.
So let's run the test with our new failed expectation or new expectation of failure. So somewhere in there, it's gonna say, "Hey, I couldn't find error resolving template. Template might not exist. Template for sure doesn't exist."
Because we didn't make it.
Um, so let's let's return the name of what our template's going to be.
I don't want to name this.
I tend to name it just the name of the endpoint, so it's song import, even though and you don't need the .html because it
You don't.
automatically adds that.
Okay.
Hey, Adaran, welcome. Nice to
Hi.
see you. All right, and now let's.
Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of you. Runaway driver.
No, you're totally fine. You were exactly doing the right thing. What I was going to do is look at one of the exists. Do we care about these? Yeah, let's grab the.
Yeah, the
Let's
one.
take the one that has no results. Yeah, and let's just copy this page. You could
You know,
just
it'd be
hit.
nice if they had a copy paste in one keystroke. I wonder if they do.
So they do. It's F5,
Right.
which is normally copy class.
There you go. We're in the right place. Dev,
Yep,
song,
everything else
themes.
looks
Yep.
good. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, let's change the title, and we'll change the header.
When you say header, you mean H1?
Yeah, the H1. Yep.
Okay.
And we can delete the p tag, and for now just stick in what should we use? I guess a text. Since this is a multi-line thing, I guess we'll want to use a text area. And we can tell it how many rows and columns we want because we'll want it to be. So text area. So we'll give it an ID later. So we'll just say rows equal. Yeah, equals.
Just equals. Okay. I wasn't sure if I
Yeah.
need to do the times leaf thing.
Um, let's
20.
say, yeah, 20 sounds good.
I'm just picking a
Yeah.
number and then
And then columns, or actually it's cols, COLS,
calls.
because apparently bytes are costly in the early days. I don't know. We can do something like 100.
Oh, 100. Oh, it's number
It
of
is
characters
columns, but
wide.
it's number of characters.
Interesting.
Yeah. Uh,
You said too early for an ID?
yeah, we don't. I mean, I guess we could assign an ID, but we'll do that later.
Okay.
And we can sort of preview this.
Oh, right. Is there a shortcut for preview?
Yeah, if you hover over in the upper right of that
Oh,
tab.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
let me just what I got. Or should I do it within?
I tend to do it within IntelliJ for this kind of stuff because I don't need the full power of Chrome.
Pretty interesting what I looked at like in Chrome.
What?
Exactly. So I'm gonna close that and then let's do it in IntelliJ, see what it does. Interesting. Is it because there's no ID, or why is it dumping that in there?
That's
Oh, maybe Sweetie is saying maybe this is not good enough.
oh, does it not like the self-closing?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Let's try it again.
But that's weird. Yeah, I
That
guess
was
so.
it.
All right.
That is weird. But so I guess not all HTML tags are self-closing. There are some you have to.
I guess so. The standard
There's a warning, apparently.
yeah,
Let's see.
IntelliJ warns yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna worry about that. Adaran asked about is the project somewhere on GitHub?
Yes.
Yes, but you're not going to find much in the way of aggregates. This is a very tiny project relative to other stuff that you might see.
But do we want to? You want me to grab the URL for the?
What is it warning about now on the text area?
Let me just get this into chat. I guess you can post
Oh, I
it
got
to.
it. I got it.
Oh, you already did. Whoops.
Yep.
Then delete. Oh, right. It doesn't like mine because I can't chat.
Yeah.
URLs. Okay. Cool.
Well, not on the YouTube side, and it's weird. It's like there's no way in the YouTube chat to like sort of give permission to people. That's where YouTube sort of chat stuff is really well behind Twitch's. But can you hover over the text area on the top? I'm just curious what other warning it has. Missing associated label. Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's going to end up being inside of a form. Let's actually wrap it in a form while we're here, because the text area on its own isn't going to help. Yes. So what IntelliJ is doing is, if you'll notice, the URL wasn't just to the file; it was actually to IntelliJ itself that's serving up the files and has some code that it injects in order to do what's called a live reload. So that's the live reload support. So when you save the file, it will update the thing. So that's why that happened. And I guess because we didn't close the text area, it assumed everything after that was part of the text area or something, which was what it was injecting. So, all right, that's good enough for now. At some point, we'll add the form tags and a button. We can add a button now if we want. So after the text area, before the end of the form, just say button. And you can say type equals submit.
Oh.
Then close the tag and just say, but not auto close, because we want to give it text on the button. And then we can you could import. Yep.
You got something better? You were about to say something.
That's fine.
Cool. All right. Is the compile error down here?
No, that's saying the test failed.
Oh, right. That's why it's yeah.
So let's rerun the tests.
Passed.
All right, great.
Woohoo.
So now we can get rid of our MVC test and move to our controller test.
One that doesn't exist yet, right? Or do
Right. So you can go to the song importer and then go to test from there.
Song importer, this one.
So our production controller, yeah.
Right,
and then
right.
Then you can go to the test from there. I think it's Alt-Shift-T. You could also do create test, but what's it? Yeah.
Alt-Shift-T, really? No.
Sorry, Control-Shift-T.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like sometimes on the Mac, the command key is an Alt, and sometimes the command is a Control. And I'm sorry, I don't have all the Windows keys memorized. Yeah, that's all fine.
Okay. Move this to the bottom. I was just seeing what we did before for the other.
Yeah, this test is going to be way simpler.
Way different, yeah.
We just actually want to see that it returns song import as a name, because we're not populating any models, we're not pre-filling anything. This is just an empty form. Yeah, so it's going to be relatively straightforward. So we just want song import returns template name.
So they have to cough. Okay, I'm back.
So create the song importer, call the song import, and assert that we get that string. You'll want to var that up because we need the returned value.
I was still working on the backspace there. No.
I usually call it something like either view name or page name or something like that. Technically, it's the view name.
Okay.
And that's our action. So yeah.
Yep.
And then we want to assert that that's equal to song import, which of course will pass, but we'll make it fail first.
What? There we go. Wow, it was weird.
So for whatever reason, and I understand why, because there are a lot of auto completion possibilities inside of assert that. I never wait for IntelliJ to suggest the name when I'm inside of the assert that, because it takes too long.
Got it.
So if you were waiting for it to autocomplete and it took a while, that's why.
Yeah, that's what was happening. Wait a second. We want a failing test first.
Well, we want we'll make the test be correct, and we'll force it to fail by changing our code.
Got it. I don't know what I did there. I'm going to use some of the techniques from the book club on like some memory techniques, see if they work for getting better at the keyboard shortcuts.
So let's change the code to be just change it to something else, or just something. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So let's switch to running back to running our IO-free tests. And so this should fail because it's going to return the wrong string.
Sweet.
Yep.
Run it again. Good
Gotcha,
pass. Sweet.
Yeah, the postfix is nicer because then you can autocomplete and then type .ast and then it'll surround it with assert that and jump you right to the other thing. Yeah.
So that would be like this.
Yep.
Oh, but
It's a custom one that Suiji created.
okay.
And I think it's somewhere in the Discord.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Yep.
Make a mental note. Not a mental note, make a real note. Find Suiji's AST. Okay. Okay.
Right. So that's it for this one. Now we want to go back to our MVC test because now we need a post mapping endpoint.
New test, I presume.
Yes.
Get to post mapping endpoint. I don't really like that name, but
well, it's not a get, it's a post to mapping endpoint. So it's a post to the endpoint. All right, Astrid, have a good night.
Good night, Astrid. Yeah, we started much later in the day today, didn't we?
Yes. I pre-apologize to my European users, European viewers. Yeah. So I would say post to mapping endpoint as opposed to the song import endpoint. And what we wanted to do is when we do a post to our song import, we wanted to redirect. So what I would say here is post to song import endpoint redirects.
Right. Would you include the word endpoint before redirects?
I like to make it clear that I'm posting to an endpoint.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's just me.
Cool. Good.
All right. Yeah.
It's another mock MVC.
Right. Right. And you want to auto import that.
Oh yeah.
But not that choice.
So do Alt Enter.
So do Alt Enter.
And then pick. Whoa.
Yeah. So what I end up doing is basically excluding a bunch of the ones so that it narrows down the choice.
Mm-hmm.
Because the one you want is the one in the mock MVC request builders, which is not at all obvious. And so what I end up doing is certainly taking the ones in. So if you hit the right arrow from here.
It's off screen, but I'll hit it.
Yeah. And see, it's giving you a whole bunch of choices of what part of the tree of things that it could possibly import do we want to eliminate and exclude. You pretty much don't want anything from com, GitHub, Docker, Java. So you can exclude all the way from there. The second one from the bottom. Yeah, and so if you hit enter, what it'll do is it'll add it to this exclude from auto import. So we'll never now ask you to auto import from that again. You can always manually do it, but it won't automatically do it. And so over time, if you constantly tell it, no, I don't want this, no, I don't want this, no, I'll never want to auto import from this, soon you'll get to the point of only offering you choices that actually make sense.
Any of these we should get rid of?
Yeah, so the last one we want to get rid of. You're never going to use that.
And
I tend to exclude the web servlet, so up a couple. Yeah, that one. So now you should be back down. You should be down to like 2 choices. And now you can just choose the first one. Because now at this point, it's obvious in a sense of, am I in a test or am I in production code? And I'll want one or the other. All right.
Here, I'm not sure what I'm going to put in. Oh, he asked me a question.
He's just pointing that he has the templates up on GitHub, so you can grab that.
Sweet. Okay, grabbing it. Awesome. Thanks, Ouija. So where were we? Syntax for post.
It's the same thing for get. Well, mostly. For what we're going to initially do, it's the same thing. It takes a URL, or maybe technically a URI. And the same thing for the and expect. And so here we want status, like you have above.
Why does it not know it? Oh, there we go.
And then is 3xx redirection. That's it.
What's it complaining about? Saying I need to cast to a request builder?
What? No. Can we check the imports? Did we actually import the right thing? No, we didn't.
Get rid of all these?
No. Get rid of just the one with the posts, because the post one is wrong. So did we accidentally exclude the wrong thing? So
I was wondering about that because I didn't remember the name being that.
Oh, we must have accidentally excluded. All right, let's go back to your settings. We must have accidentally excluded the wrong thing. You'll want to look for auto import.
That these guys, general, or is it more
the
Java one?
Yeah, so if you click in there, you can probably, or maybe it does it in order.
This is Java, yeah. Why is it such
can
a
you hit
small
escape?
list?
Can you hit escape? Because
yeah,
that way, yeah, okay. So
I think it was in this file.
Oh, we accidentally, that last one is wrong. So just delete that last one.
Just delete key? Yeah.
Yeah. I think we did it too low level. Yep.
Oh.
Okay, great. Perfect.
But it just did it without asking which one we wanted.
Probably because it knew the context. We can double check. It should be mock MVC request builders, so that's correct.
Yeah, okay, cool. Now we run all? Or you said for these you like to just run the class?
For these I just run the class, yeah. So the one next to the, yep. So we expect this to fail because there is no post endpoint. Right. Oh, but we got a 403. We got a 403. Why did we get a 403? We got a forbidden. We shouldn't be forbidden. Yeah, let's scroll all the way up. Yeah, I'm wondering if it, yep, okay. So you see the session attribute stuff, and there's this mention of the CSRF token. This was causing me like, I was in a different situation. I was with HTMX doing a post, and that's a totally separate problem. So we actually need to say, so are you familiar with CSRF?
No.
Okay. So CSRF stands for cross-site request forgery. And so what it's protecting against is a post coming from somewhere that didn't supply the form. So if we didn't have CSRF protection, somebody could steal stuff and do a post on your behalf without you knowing about it.
Right.
And so what the security in combination with Timeleaf does for you is it'll actually inject a token as a hidden element. And so when the form gets submitted, that comes along for the ride. And so it
Right.
checks that the tokens match. Since our test is not doing that at all, we need to add to our test, hey, can you stick in a CSRF? So right before the closing, the last paren on line 31,
Oh, 31.
say dot with, yep, and then just say CSRF open close paren, all lowercase. It's a method call, which will be a static method, which I can't stand, but this is where we are.
Really interesting.
Yeah, so basically what that method does is it supplies some configuration customization for you. I just really hate static methods. So like that one and the status and post, like all these methods are static methods, and I just hate them because they're not discoverable.
Yeah.
But that's what mock MPC provides, so that's what we got to use. So I generally format it so the dot with is on a new line, just to make it clear. But it should still at least now fail correctly.
As we expected.
Yeah. 405. There we go. So this is a 405, not a 404, because there is a get mapped method for this endpoint, but there's no post. So it is not a 404. It's found, but it's the method doesn't match. Method not allowed is technically the name of 405.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is why like I actually have like my ensembler tests where I've already solved these problems.
You reference them.
I have to reference them because I don't write these very often, and so therefore, as we know about our cognitive architecture, use it or lose it. So I always lose it. I don't know what the latest is. I know there's newer stuff, like there's the REST client as opposed to the template. I think there's a test REST client, and there was the web client, but that was the reactive, and I basically treat reactive as dead. I have not looked to see what's new here. It would be nice if it was better, but I actually haven't looked. I should add that to my list. Hey there, Al Wally. So go ahead and ask your question. We'll get to it. But you didn't finish your question, so I can't answer it until you finish your question. But go ahead and I see it. I see you. So finish typing it.
We were so exciting while he stopped typing.
Like,
that's what it was.
I was waiting with bated breath for the rest of the question. All right. So this fails for the right reason. And so let's make it at least pass for the right reason. So here we'll again do a public string. And so here I typically say, well, this is a response to a post. And so I always make this be more like, process or parse or handle song import or something like that. So
I didn't like parse because parse might be delegated by this method.
That's fair.
That was just my initial thought process.
Now, as a response to the post, we'll eventually redirect, which is what the test is asking for, and we'll eventually redirect back to the song import page, or maybe some post song import page that says, "Hey, we've imported this," or something like that. But we'll figure that out later. For now, we just need to make sure we've got the post mapping with the same URL. And now to tell it that we want to redirect, we basically return a string that says redirect : /. So Spring MVC interprets that and says, oh, I need to redirect. Where do I redirect it to? In this case, /. Eventually, it'll be a different name. But for this test, this should be sufficient. So I expect it to
Running the test.
pass. Yep,
And it does.
all passed. All right, great.
Cool.
We haven't done a commit in a little while, so let's do a
Oh,
commit.
wow, it has been a while, yeah.
Yeah. And then it's probably a good time for a break.
Oh, yeah. Um, Good enough?
Yep.
Ship it.
All right.
Break time.
All right, so we're going to take a break, give our minds and bodies and eyes a rest,
Yeah.
and we'll be back. How long do you want for a break?
I'm good with 5.
Okay. Let me set my timer. Where'd my timer go? There it is.
I'm going to set mine too.
Yep. All right, see y'all in 5.
Cool.
So as you can see from the banner, and I mentioned in chat, next Tuesday, I'm going to be guesting on the Agile Lunch and Learn. And so I'll be talking about my TDD game. And you can click on the link. So it's bit.ly TDD-game-lunch. And then you can register and get an invite for that. And we'll be talking about predictive test-driven development, basically what we're doing here on stream, right? Predicting how it will fail, precisely how it will fail. We'll talk about that, talk about the game, about why I created the game, what the game's about. And there will also be a special offer at the end where if you're interested in purchasing the game, you'll get a discount. So make sure to join us for that. And it'll be recorded, so in case you can't make it live, it's at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. UTC. But if you can't make it, it'll be recorded and be available up on YouTube. Whoops, wrong thing. So Adaran asks, is it just about TDD and Agile? We'll be talking about Scrum as well. Scrum is not, well, I don't think I want to go down that road. No, we will not be talking about Scrum. I'll leave it at that. All right. Wrong screen. Sorry about that.
Oh, I did want to give a shout out to yeah, it was Adaran, the control enter driven development.
Yes, alt enter, yeah, or
Yeah.
command enter or option enter, I guess. I call it dot driven development because it's basically that's what you do. You hit the dot and you see what auto completes. Oh, right, because it's running the tests after we commit. So actually, why is that failing?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm like, why did that fail?
Let's take a look.
See if there's anything up above. Nope, nothing. This is the original song themes. We haven't run all in a while, have we?
Did we? Oh, this is the GET request. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm like, why is it expecting successful? Right. So now because we were, and so this is it's good that we ran all the tests. We should run all the tests occasionally. This is because this test was written before we added the security. Now we need to go back and add the with mock user.
And that was, I guess I closed it. This one.
Yep. You may as well add it to the whole test. So so this annotation can go on specific test methods, but this one it would apply to any other test that we might add.
Yeah.
At least for now. Now this one, because it's just authenticated, I wonder. So wait a second.
Wait a second. This one shouldn't fail because this is one that's not.
That's right. So can we double check our config? Because I thought we put this up in the permit all.
Right.
We did put it in permit all. Let's.
Does it?
Yeah. So let's add the with anonymous user instead of with mock user. Because as I said, there's this weird. Even when you're not authenticated, you have an authentication.
It's got a compiler. No, it's a failing test. Never mind. Which test is this? Get to search endpoint returns 200.
Shouldn't be doing
Expected
that.
302, but got redirection?
We expected successful, so we expected a 200, but we're getting a redirection because it still thinks it needs to authenticate. Um, I don't understand.
Does this apply for search criteria as well?
That's not so anything that's after the query string is not part of
Not
what
part. Okay.
gets, yeah.
Just trying to think of what.
Hmm. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research on this because this is not gonna be um
Obvious.
this there's something when the Spring Security moved from MVC matchers to request matchers, there was some slight edge case incompatibility with something that I'm not understanding. So um, rather than waste time on that now, uh, let's
What's natural born coder saying?
that's something else.
Ah, okay.
Um, yeah, so rather than waste time on that. uh,
What do you think? Do you want to disable the test or do you want
no,
to leave it? Because it's only when we run all.
w- uh, wait, when we had with mock user, did that not work? Or did we not try it with that?
I thought we did. Yeah. Let's try it again. Now it passed.
Okay. So there's something wrong with my understanding of permit all with request matchers, and it's not an obvious solution. So we'll leave it at that. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, it looks like there's some discussions about this, but uh, can you scroll up a bit on the top pane? Yeah. Okay. So that all looks right. There's something wrong with my understanding of permit all because that should work without being logged in from our tests. So something missing in our tests configuration.
Do you think it's a test related?
I don't want to waste time on this right now,
Yeah.
because I think
Okay.
because whenever I get into Spring Security stuff, it's always like I spend 2 hours trying to figure out what's actually going on.
Got it.
Um,
So
so
we got it working with the fake user, even though that.
yeah, so that's all we care about for this test. Yeah, I'll have to investigate that. What Sweegie mentions is possible. That it's not actually using the config class, because the config class, right. So that's probably what we need to do. But for now, we'll do that later. We'll I want to not get rat holed into Spring Security stuff. But that's likely the thing is when we run tests, it does not pull in all of the configuration. It pulls in some configuration, uh, but not all of it. And so since there's no security configuration, but security is included, but therefore it's on the class path that gets configured, um, but not using our configuration. So it gets default configuration, which means everything is protected. Uh, so uh, so let's move on.
Okay. Back to Jira, or do you have something specific in mind?
Well, where are we? We've got so we've done that step 56. Um, yes, they're very deep. So basically we're now on 59.
Right, because we can't deploy to production until we solve what's going on with the
Oh, we
config
could.
acquisition.
We could if we wanted to. I don't know if you want to do that now. We could totally do that because the issue that we ran into is specifically to our
To
tests.
test, right. If we, whoop, Ted's video disappeared.
Oops, sorry about that.
No worries.
My browser refreshed. Yeah, so let's think about our UI. So we've got our template, which has basically a big text area. It has a button. Can we view it again? Did the button show up? I don't remember seeing the button.
Yeah, you're right. I don't remember seeing it either.
Oh,
Oh,
there it
there it
is. Let's put the button inside of
The
actually
text area.
let's put the text area inside of a div. And if you just hit Control S.
Control S, really? Oh, for
Yeah.
save.
Yeah. So that causes the refresh, the browser to refresh.
Right.
All right. So we got the text area, we've got the button. So what do we want? We want basically when you post, we want that to basically be a big string. Pretty much. We'll just take it in as a string and see what we get.
Works for me.
So this is where we're going to sort of so let's go write a test against so we can close the preview of that and we can close our MVC tests. So our song importer test, we'll want to write a test against the post request. So we'll need a new test where, so what should it do? What should it do? And how will we know it did it? So when we do a
Well,
post, what's going to come in to our post request, basically to our post mapped endpoint, is basically going to be a string.
right.
Um, so let's open up the song importer on the top.
There it is.
So my recommendation, and I recommend this to anyone who's using IntelliJ, don't manually scan for tabs,
Right.
because we are not good at scanning for tabs, um, especially once you get more than like two. I always recommend either Command E for or whatever, Control E for the most recent one, most recently the open things, or get to know the specific shortcut that goes to class names, um, and then just
I
type the
think
class name.
nope.
Nope,
That's
nope,
files.
that's
It's
files. You want just Control N.
Control N.
Yeah,
That was close.
yeah. Because then you could just type SI so sometimes if you are switching back and forth, maybe you can, like, what we remember is sort of locations of things, but then tabs move around as you add and enclose them, and that's why we're constantly scanning, which one is which one, where is what I'm looking for. uh and if you watch people who are doing this, you'll see that that actually takes much longer than going right to here, typing SI, and boom, you're there. It seems like it might take longer, but the variance of searching the tabs is much higher than the very well known. I know if I do this keystroke SI enter, it's going to take me there without any work. I also find that it doesn't. Um, the cognitive load of searching starts dumping stuff out of your head. And so you're searching, you found it, and it's like, what was I doing? Right? Sort of like you
Right.
walk into another room, it's like, why am I here? Yeah, so Command E enter. There's an even better one if you're switching back and forth between two files, is Control Tab. Control Tab. So Command E brings up the dialog, but waits for you to select something. Control Tab, as soon as you let go of Control Tab, it takes you right there. So Control Tab still brings up the thing, but if you just want where I was before, Control Tab is great for switching back and forth. It's like this is really getting to like super optimizing. Like I want one fewer keystrokes to press. Probably not, Sweetie. That's actually where I was going, and I just wanted to get our song importer open on the top so that we could discover that we're missing a connection. So from the point of view of our test, what we want to test is that when we call the post method, right, our handle song import, and we send it a big string, which is basically our tab separated values,
Right.
uh, what did that get passed along to our application? So we can go ahead and look at, well, what method is it going to call in our application?
Do we have anything in the application yet? I don't think so.
Sure we do. The
We
whole
do?
parsing stuff,
Oh,
the service, song service.
right.
Import songs, right? That's our, from a hexagonal architecture point of view, that is our port. That is our point of entry into our application. So it takes a string, although it does say the parameter CSV. So let's fix that.
Done.
So, oh, I guess where's your control key? Keyboard layouts are weird. Like one thing I dislike about the laptop keyboards is the function keys, and the FN key on Mac laptop is in the lower left. On my desktop keyboard, that's where my control key is, and I hardly ever use FN, and I'm always using control, and so I find it really annoying that the FN key is there.
This is on MacBooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so this is our entry point. This is our port of call, as it were. And so what we want is we want to say, if the string gets passed into here, how will we know that that worked? Is pretty much what Suiji says. Like, we should then be able to see this song in our repository. So this is where we're doing an adapter wiring test. We're checking that the adapter, the inbound adapter, is wired up to our service. And so what we need, since it doesn't necessarily return any information, because it's essentially a creation command, we have to, in a sense, look for well, what happens when we call import songs with a bunch of things. Well, we know exactly what happens. It gets parsed, each song gets added, and the results are in the repository. So we should be able to write a test where we call the song importer, call the post method directly with a string, and we should see that song in the repository. And we'll find out pretty quickly that there's no possible way it could currently work the way the controller class is implemented, because it's missing the connection to our application layer.
Here.
Right. So right now, this has no connection with anything, and therefore, what we're about to do will not possibly work. But that's all right. We'll test drive that. So let's finish writing our test.
So let's see. Whoops, not there. I did not mean to do that. Control Z. There we go.
So Natural Born Coder, what I use on the Mac is Command Option O that takes you to any symbol. Because generally, I actually don't find myself searching much to a specific thing. I might search globally. Otherwise, I'll use Command F12 to give me the whole list, and then I can start narrowing down the search. But I'm almost always, like, I don't find myself doing that a lot. I'm almost always following call paths, where then I'm just doing a Command B. So it's interesting.
I can't find the right. I'll just put this for now. I'm gonna go with causes. Puts.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I would drop the word one. I don't think the number makes any difference here. I think what's important is that a song import puts song in repository. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Less words. I always like less words.
Yep.
We'll steal this. Now we don't care about the view.
We will, but not yet. So for now, we'll just call the handle song import. Yep. And now when we try to write the assert, we'll be like, wait, what? How do we assert? We don't have access to anything.
Right.
So the first step will be, well, we need to wire up our song importer to our service. So let's let's go do that. So let's create a song service on line 20 and a half.
Nothing. Okay.
So we could ask the song service possibly to to search. So if we go down to line 27, if we start thinking about what we can assert against song service, we could search by theme, but that's kind of awkward. So what
It
we really
is.
want is we want access to the repository. So what we'll need to do is create a repository and pass that into the song service. And this is where these application level tests start to grow a little bit in terms of their setup, because we need sometimes we need fakes, or even sort of there are dependencies that the service often requires all these other things in order for it to do its job. And we have to supply those. And here we're basically tapping into or sort of listening, or going to be exploring, hey, repository, you should have this stuff in it. So we're not going to be, we could assert against search by theme, but since that's really awkward, um, we should just assert against the repository.
We don't have access to the repository.
Then we're going to have to get access to the repository.
Gotcha. Would we give access to it, or would we
We will create it in our
delegate
test.
something? I see. Got it.
So before we create the song service, and song service takes a repository as a parameter, we need to go ahead and create the repository. And we'll want to hold on to that, because that's what we're going to uh, query.
Hmm. Why is it not taking .new?
I believe the constructor is private.
Ah, so it's a factory. Right. Create
So
empty.
these methods are not available outside the package, and they really should both be public.
Create empty, I presume.
Yes.
Do you have a preference on that one? I figure brevity is,
I'm fine with that.
yeah.
Yeah. So I go back and forth about using create null. I find I end up going to a factory and a test builder, rather than putting that stuff in the production code. I don't mind that it's there. I just find that I often need more configuration, and and I I just don't like all that extra code. So the difference between James Shore and myself is and me in some of this areas. He likes to put lots of stuff in single classes. I like more in smaller classes. So I find create null ends up growing with all the variations, and then all the stuff that's behind that is actually in that class. And I I go back and forth about that. So it's absolutely hexagonal. I wouldn't call the service. I wouldn't call it CRUD services though, because we don't really have all those. I mean, I guess you could call that, because right now it's fairly straightforward.
Right. With time, will be more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Not much more
Yeah.
complicated, but
Yeah. Yeah, so when I heard about Kent Beck's lumpers versus splitters, I'm like, "Oh, that's why I'm sort of constantly like, why do I not like that?" 'Cause they're two different kinds of people. Well, it's probably more, but in terms of that, there's 2. Would you say it's bad practice to just overload the create method? Um, I find a create method that doesn't take anything to not be intention revealing. So I prefer to have a explicitly named create empty rather than have one that just doesn't take anything.
Yeah, I think the other way, or another way, well, one way I think of it is um, when I'm the caller, if it reads more like a sentence, I find that a little bit cleaner versus create, and it's like, oh, what am I passing to it? I
Right,
now have to think about it, what it is I'm passing to it versus the intention revealing aspect of the name.
right.
Basically lets me not have to parse what's in the parens.
Yeah,
Like, does that mean it does something differently or not?
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's same thing. I want it to
Yeah.
be create should take a parameter, maybe if that's meaningful, and if there's ever going to be where there's some kind of default, then I want to be explicit about that.
And given that, maybe this one shouldn't just be called create. We
What
got
do you
create
mean?
empty. Like, should we?
But there's no overload for create, so there's no option.
Right. That's true.
All right.
Yeah.
So we fixed that. Let's go back to our test.
Put in repository.
Yep. Let's delete line 30 because we don't want that. And that's going to muck things up. All right.
Okay. So that's all still set up.
Yes. And so now we want to pass song service into song importer.
It's not built for that yet. Okay.
Right. So now we'll need to fix that. So we'll just create the constructor. And you can go ahead and assign a variable, a field. If you do Alt Enter on song service, it'll do that. Yep. Yep. Now it's a red underline. That's not a compile error. That's a IntelliJ
Oh,
warning us that it can't auto wire. We don't care. We're not there yet. We're running with all test doubles and we're not using Spring, so we don't care about that just yet. Um, but let's yeah, so that's fine. Um, now let's go back to our test.
I'm going to close the project
Sure.
window.
And so here, now we can do an assert against the repository. We need to call a method on the repository.
All right.
All songs.
Start
And
simple.
um, sure. All right. So now if we run our IO free tests, this test should fail because the repository is still empty.
Is it Alt Shift F10? Yeah, that's the one that brings the picker up.
Yeah, that one I never memorized because it's so different on the
Yeah.
Windows.
Okay.
Oh, what did we do? Did we make another test? Yes.
Ah, right. So for this one,
Well, let's not pass in null. Let's just pass in a new song repository. or the create empty, or song repository create empty. Oh, but it requires a service, so we can just. Didn't song service have a default default constructor? Can't we just pass in new song service?
Yes.
Yeah. Whether that's correct or not is actually an open question. In a sense, this is doing the more like the create null, because it's creating the stuff. We would never want that to be used in production.
Right.
So let's fix that.
How would you go about fixing that? What were your thoughts?
So what I would do is put the cursor on line 14 and hit Alt Enter on the top line 14.
Top of line 14.
The top pane.
Oh, top 14. Window. Got it.
And then Alt Enter. Replace constructor with factory method. And let's call it create null. I don't like the way it did that. Let's
it made this private, and then it replaced the calling. What's the part that you don't like?
I don't like that constructor. I want what the constructor is doing basically in the method that we just created. So let's take copy line 16. And let's paste it into 28.5. Sorry, not 28.5, 25, 24.5.
Okay.
And you'll have to declare that variable. Although we could probably just put it right in. You know what? Never mind. Delete line 25. Just say inside the parentheses for 25, just do song repository create empty. Yeah, let's run our tests, see if we broke anything. Okay, just the one that we expected. Okay. Yeah, that's possible. We didn't set the constructors to be chained, so it might not have that might have helped, but that's fine. So now we can get rid of that private constructor because we're no longer using it.
Okay.
All right, so now we can go back to our tests. And now we saw that test fail for the right reason, the one we were just writing.
Right.
And so now we can switch back to song importer on the top. And now, of course, this still can't possibly work because we haven't given the post method anything to work with. So let's create, so let's do a handle song import. Let's hand in at the bottom in the test. Let's drive the change from our test. So let's create a string that actually is a valid tab separated song. So let's grab that from somewhere.
Okay. Probably grab it from another test.
Yeah.
What do you think? Don't care?
Sure. You could just copy the whole line because we don't want to pass that in line.
True.
All right, and then let's pass that into handle song import. That'll force us to create a parameter. Yep. Let's run our tests to see if we've broken anything by doing that.
Oh, broken anything more? Because we're still
Mainly. So one thing that I do is I don't do a separate compile step. I just always try to run my tests, and if it fails to compile, then I'll see that. So in this case, it was more about, did we break anything from a compile point of view?
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I don't understand why Sweegee's always here. The check's in the mail, as they say. All right. So now that at least there's a possibility for us to get this to pass, right? So our test has all the elements it needs. It sets up the repository, connects it, and wires it up to the service. And it actually passes in a valid string. And now we'd like it to work. So it should just be one line of code.
Yeah. So we're here. We've got
yeah, we got our song service. Yep. Yep.
Run the tests.
Run the tests.
Should work.
And it passed.
Woohoo! Sweet.
Yeah. So I just love this process where it's like we just add one line of code. You know, we did some prepare work of passing stuff in, then boom, and everything just works. So now, let's do a commit. So we've successfully at least done the, I think we have just about everything. We'll need one last piece, which is modify the HTML file to match, although we might not even have to do that. Once you do the commit, then we'll try it out.
That okay?
Well, I think it's more than that. I think it's the controller.
We wired up stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we've written the code. Like we spent a lot of time writing tests, and then the code is just is not a lot, and it just works. So we basically have song importer import song via post from the HTML page.
Is that what you said?
Yep. One of these days I will do that. Once it gets cheap enough, I've got 700 hours of video that I could train AI on. I'd love to do that, but not there yet.
Ooh, 4 tests failed.
Yes. So what we haven't quite finished is the we've done the application layer test double IO free stuff, but we've now broken Spring. So now we got to fix Spring, but that'll be straightforward. It's basically it's all Spring tests because it can't load the application context because that little red wavy underscore in our importer, it wasn't happy because it had no way of figuring out where it's going to get that from.
Right.
So let's tack on above 13, so 12 and a half. Let's do at auto wired, even though I know that's totally optional. I like to put it in because I don't I don't like that much magic. So no parens. So now what we need to do is go into our configuration. So where we're doing our bean configurations, probably in our song theme startup. See, you're searching again.
Yeah, you're right.
See how long that takes you,
Yep,
right?
you're totally right. That was lame.
No, it's not lame. It's just
No, but
it's
it's a good
a
habit to
habit.
build.
It's a habit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
totally a habit.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that was good.
So let's just add another bean, just like we did above. And this one will create the song service. So we'll return a song service. Yep. And then just return song service. Yep. So we can just pass in a new song repository. Right now, our song repository is an in-memory song repository.
Right.
I don't think we can call a song repository like that because we don't have a
Factory.
constructor like that. Yeah.
Create empty.
Yes. I mean, we could pre-fill it like we're doing above, but this is fine. And I have a feeling that that song searcher is actually no longer valid.
This
But we'll
one?
find. Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah.
So let's run all the tests.
Okay. Control Shift F10.
Oh, okay. So I expected that because we are now processing the so we're now expecting a string to come in, but in this test, the post is basically not sending anything, and so the string actually is null, and that's fine. That's basically an unhappy scenario that we should validate through tests.
Okay, where would we write that test?
So we want to write this test, this one as basically an IO free test, so our song importer test. And what we want is
New test.
New test. Yep.
Oh, no, I didn't want edit template. What would we call this one?
Song import handles null. And we could be more specific because we could say
No.
missing
Songs.
Missing songs, yeah, or missing text or something.
I like text better.
Yep.
So a lot of cloning here.
Well, we don't need the repository, right? So we don't need
Oh.
access to it. So we could probably just use the more convenient. So we need song service because that has to get injected into the song importer. But we can basically copy line 13 because we don't really care about since we're not checking the repository, what we're going to do is we're going to basically say when we call this method, it's just throw an exception. Well, it shouldn't throw an exception. What should it do? That's a good question. So this is at the controller endpoint. At some point, we'll probably want to put in some, although this would normally not happen through the web UI.
Because the idea is the web UI would not.
Because there's no way the web UI could pass in anything other than, I mean, unless the HTML page is misconfigured, which it currently is. So I think for now it should just redirect to the same page, and later on we'll do some handling for we could put a message in the model. That actually might be, although that gets a little tricky with the redirects and the flash attributes. Let's just say the redirect redirects us back to the song imports page.
So that's when we call this, but with empty.
Specifically with null.
With null. So maybe missing text is not.
So not that kind of null.
Oh, yeah.
We could say null or missing text, but maybe this is just null text.
Because you said the only way this would happen is if we don't have the configured.
If the page is correct, it would hand in an empty string, which we already handle.
Yeah.
So it's really specifically, it could not find any string anywhere in the form that was submitted by the post.
Right. Okay.
So I think let's drop the word missing and just say handles null text. So we want to do is we want to grab the return value of handle song import, because we want to hang on to what page it redirects us to. And I would call this redirect page, because for web apps, posts always redirect. Otherwise, you get a mess on the front end. And so we expect the redirect page to be redirect. So
is equal to?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
Okay. New line.
So if we look at what it currently returns, if you jump to handle song import, right, we see redirects to slash. We don't want that. We want redirect to slash song import. Nope.
Oh, whoa.
If you want to do that, don't paste inside of double quotes.
Yeah. I've been bit by that once before, so
yeah.
Hopefully a third time I'll remember. Is that right?
Yep.
Run it.
So we expect this to fail because it's going to redirect us to slash always. That's fine. So let's run the IO free tests.
Okay.
Oh, yes, of course. That's fine. I should have expected that, but I didn't. So now we need to put in a guard clause that if TSV songs is null, that we redirect to somewhere else.
Just do a straight guard clause, and then we'll turn it into a require. Or would you just do the require right away?
No, I write it and then I refactor it.
Okay.
So there are other ways to do it, but for example, we could actually annotate TSV songs where we can set a default for it being an empty string. Um, but I kind of like this better because it's a little bit more uh, it's more obvious what's going on.
What did I do wrong?
That's fine.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't add the other one until you hit enter.
Right. So
You probably want to copy what you have in your test because that's what we actually want.
yeah. So now it should pass, and then we'll refactor to make it look cleaner. Correct? Or
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay.
All right. There's not going to be a good refactoring, which is why I didn't upfront, because this isn't throwing an exception, it's doing a direct return. What we can do is we can do a mapping, because really what this is it's a mapping of input to where we redirect to. So we can actually, if we wanted to, we could convert this into an if else. We could convert it into even a switch statement, basically a switch expression. I personally think it's okay right now because we don't know where this is going to go and what else it's going to do. So I would probably just leave it.
Okay. I'm good with that.
So let's run all of our tests to see that we've actually fixed the core problem. All right, Suiji. Have a good night. All right, all of our tests pass.
Sweet.
So let's go do a commit. So basically, we wired up the song importer with the song service. And fix problem with and handle null song import. Yep.
Okay.
So let's run the application.
Bring a
Did you
window
run it?
over in a second.
Okay.
What's going on? Give me a second. Here we go. This one I can use. So let me run that. Make sure it initialized. It did.
And we want to go to our new song import page.
Right.
And
Guess
you'll
I'll
need
do
to
this off screen.
authenticate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what the session time or login, whatever is retained.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I was just thinking out loud, sort of what is the like, why are we re-authenticating? You authenticated the last time, and so how long you're authenticated
Oh,
for?
right. I have to
So
look at
clear,
the kind configuration stuff, I presume.
I guess. I don't know if I don't know what options are available. So all right. So
I'll look at that later then.
so let's paste something in.
Interesting, that little. Huh. Okay, let's grab from the test because then we know it's formatted correctly. Or are you thinking go from
I was thinking take it from your spreadsheet.
the spreadsheet? Okay,
Let's
let's see which.
let's test it for real.
Right now, which columns we were looking for? Artist, song title, release title, not format. We were doing release
Did
type,
we
and then
not? Did we? Oh, I mean, I guess you could
make
hide
sure.
it, but
Well, if you hide, it doesn't come through in the copy.
right. Why aren't we skipping that column?
You mean from the original design?
Yeah.
Oh, there's like a ton of columns that we haven't dealt with yet. So there's a lot of columns we're skipping.
What other columns are we skipping?
Let's see.
Because I only see D missing.
It's just D. And
I mean, there may be stuff off to the right, but we already said anything after themes we ignore. But
right. Okay. Yeah. There's a bunch here.
why didn't we skip?
Because I think our
Format?
document was saying let's go with the ones that were the most important. This one we didn't need. So not this one.
Okay.
Format.
So we probably want to make that easier on you, the user. No.
Sure.
But for now we can hide it since we're not going to go change it just yet.
Yeah. Format. Huh. Interesting that that's twice. What's wrong here? There we go. Okay. What do you think? Just one line
Oh, did somebody
for
do
now?
did Beautiful South do a cover of Don't Fear the Reaper?
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that cover. I'll have to find it.
So let's just do with one for now.
Yes.
Interesting how it's got that little tab thing there for the first line.
We should fix that.
Yeah. Shall we do import?
Well, no, we got to fix that extra space.
So
that must be being inserted because of the way the template tag is set up. So let's go to our HTML page. Yeah. So you want to put the closing tag right after the opening tag. Because basically anything that's in between the two tags is
it's gonna put it out there, right?
Yeah.
Restart.
Yeah, you can restart.
Is that restart? It says run.
It is a restart.
Yeah, looks like it.
All right. All right.
Okay.
Paste, import.
So no information of success, which we'll work on.
That's not what it should have done because we had it set to redirect to slash.
Did we?
So what do we see in our console output? Oh, we didn't send a post. Oh, so this is a mistake on the HTML. We did not do a post to the right thing, and by default it does a get.
Ah.
So let's modify our form tag because our form tag doesn't go to the right place. So let's configure it properly. And this is stuff like I've had discussions with folks where it's like, oh, you should have had a test for that. It's like, yeah, we could write a test for this, but once we write it, it's not going to change very much, and it's easy to manually inspect. So, uh, I think we can just do it manually. So what we want is action equals. And this is going to be the endpoint that it gets submitted to. So we already see it as one of the options, the song import post. And then we want another one, which is method. And that we want post. I'm a little disappointed in IntelliJ since we selected the post endpoint. Why it didn't fill in the method equals post for us? I think that's all we need. We really should attach a name to the text area, even though we're currently not using it. So let's do ID equals. What did we actually call the variable name inside of our song importer? We called it TSV song. So let's call it the same thing.
Nope. Songs.
Yep. And do name equals and use the same value. And at some point we'll change this to use time leaf, but for now this is fine. What is it still complaining about the text area? Did we not have a label? Is that why? Yeah, let's create a label. So if you let it do that, yep. And you can move the text area to a new line. And then just write something in the label. It's like paste your songs here or something. In between. No.
Oh, I see.
That's the label for.
Right.
All right, let's rerun.
Whoa.
Yeah, because we didn't put a break around it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Do we not have access to slash? Can you just try to do a request to just slash? That's weird.
Yeah, we did before and it worked.
Yeah.
Put the slash there explicitly. No, it's all good.
Let's look at the console. What did it say? So let's scroll up a bit. So we're looking for. So we did the get. So scroll down because you're too far. Right. So we see the get here. We then see text HTML that comes in, and it does the get. That looks fine. I don't understand. It's unclear to me who that 403, where that 403 came from.
We'd have to do it again.
Yeah.
Should we have had network up?
Yeah, we probably should have had network up.
Let me clear. Clear it out. And there.
I hate that icon because it does not mean trash stuff.
Yeah, it's a weird icon.
It should be a garbage can, not a loud thing. Yeah, so why did that one fail? Click on it. Let's look at the response. What was the payload? So it's basically complaining that the post was not allowed. You can close the. Yeah, we're not, yeah. So, um,
The post. So does that mean?
but
But
that shouldn't be a problem.
yeah, didn't we already write a test for that? PC tests.
Oh, did we not? We did add it to our config, right? To our
Thought so.
security config. Yeah, song import. You are authenticated.
Do you think this is connected to the other? No, but that was a test.
That was a test thing.
Yeah.
Possibly it's a CSRF problem again that is not that's not being dumped to our console. So let's disable CSRF and see if that fixes it. And if that fixes it, then we know what's going on.
Okay. Code or?
So no, it's here in config. So basically after line 14, so 14 and a half, HTTP dot. I forget the modern way to disable it. What is the modern way to disable it? It's .csrf. Yep, that one. And you want open paren CSRF, and then close paren, and then arrow, and then CSRF.disable. And that's it. So let's try it again. What I suspect is that because Timeleaf isn't processing the form, because the form wasn't decorated with any Timeleaf annotations, that it didn't stick in the CSRF token.
Okay.
We can examine the HTML when we try it again.
Hmm?
Yeah, you were trying to refresh what was basically a post.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we look at, if we do,
Sorry.
if you do it,
Where?
click on elements, the top tab,
There it is.
and open up the form. Yeah, so there's no CSRF token in there because Timeleaf wasn't processing the form at all, so it left it untouched. So I suspect that's what the problem is. So let's paste it and import.
Hmm.
So what's the headers say?
Disable cache.
No, that's not going to help us.
Should I keep going down?
Um, yeah, let's look at the request headers. So the content type is form URL encoded. That's the host. That's the origin. We're same origin, so that's fine. And the payload was fine, right? Can we look at the payload?
Yeah, it's fine
Can
to
we
me.
view source? Yeah, so that's fine. It's URL encoded. I'm puzzled by this. Can we go back to the headers?
Start from the top or
Yeah,
go
let's
back?
start from the
Or,
top.
okay.
So we're posting to song import. That's right. I am unsure why this is happening. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
So this is probably a good place for us to stop anyway,
Yeah,
since we're
because
at time. So I'll
yeah,
I'll look into this offline, and see what's going on, because I'm sure it's a simple solution. It was not the CSRF token, uh, which surprises me. Um, is
oh
there
yeah, oh
what's
sure,
what's in the console there?
oh yeah,
Was there anything else in the console? Let's scroll up.
there's a lot.
Aha. Okay. So
Omcat is Omcat Tomcat, but
yeah,
without the
Yeah,
T.
that's the Tomcat handler. It cuts it off to fit the number of characters.
Ah.
Um,
Oh look, wait.
yeah, so I don't know why though that caused a 403. That's what I'm puzzled about,
Oh
because oh, I know what it's doing. Okay. So because it threw an exception, it's going to redirect to a slash error. Uh, I'm confused why the browser didn't say that. Can we go back to the browser?
sure.
Um, can we look at the response? Yeah, so of course there's no response. Can we go back to the headers, and then we want to look at the response headers? Is there scroll up?
Up. Okay.
Yeah, I don't understand why we're not seeing what we should be seeing is a redirect, or we should have seen a redirect to slash error, and then slash error is actually not allowed. So I'm confused by why we're not seeing those requests.
Yeah, because there's not much.
Because the other stuff is just Chrome itself. So that's weird. So let's go into our config, and we'll enable the error page to be shown. So let's add to request matchers on line 17. Add a comma, and then let's put in /error. So in the request matchers.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's restart.
That was right.
Okay. So what you did was you reposted the same thing, which is why we got the error. But that's what was happening is during the post, it threw an exception, and it tried to basically produce the error page, but it tried to produce it as a response to a post, and so it's a really odd situation. That's why we didn't see a redirect, because it didn't actually redirect. What it instead does is it returns the content of the post, and that's why the refresh causes it to post again, because it never actually redirected. So produced a page that we weren't allowed to see, but it didn't change the URL because it didn't do a redirect. And that's why that was a little harder to track down.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good.
And we're missing a column.
Yes.
So maybe we did include that column.
Well, we'll have to save that for next time.
Next time.
Yeah. This will be a good
It
place
is getting
to find
late.
out.
True.
Yeah. All right. So that's all, folks. We're almost there. Obviously, error handling we haven't built into our controller. We can decide whether we want to do that next, but we certainly know that we need proper input. So next time we'll pick it up from here, and we'll also add the CSRF stuff, and then we'll sort of make sure that we can sort of do a round trip of add some songs and be able to find them.
Right.
We
That'll
should
be fun.
be just about there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Thanks a lot. We will see you next time. So be sure to join the Discord. That's how you can find out in advance when we're going to stream, either as a pair or if it's just me solo doing my ensembler stuff. As a reminder, next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. UTC, I'll be on the Agile Lunch and Learn, talking about my TDD game, as well as predictive test-driven development, what we've been doing here all day, or at least all afternoon. And it is not too late to join the book club. We have just started. We've just finished chapter 1 of The Programmer's Brain. And so we're going to be discussing chapter 2 and maybe chapter 3. We'll see how far we get. But it's not too late to join. Join the Discord, find the book club channel. As I like to say, it's never too late to join. You can always get something out of it, even if you're coming in halfway or 3/4 of the way through the book. Anything else I'm missing? I think that's it. All right.
Sounds good.
We'll see you next time.